Hey everybody, it's Melissa. You may have noticed in my last video that I took out my REI Flash 1 tent for a test run for 2 nights on the French Louis Loop. And I kind of figured maybe you might want to know what I thought about it and its performance. So let's get into it. So I've only had this tent a short amount of time. I've only used it 2 nights. So let's be clear about that. First night, it was a clear, cool day, and the temperatures did drop significantly, and we were relatively close to a lake. And I'm not gonna lie, there was an insane amount of condensation in the tent that was leaking down that back wall that I originally had concerns about, and my sleeping bag was in fact covered in condensation. So I'm a little hard pressed to say if it's strictly because of the design of the tent, or maybe was it because of the temperature difference, because it did dip into probably the low 40s from the mid 60s that day. And that's pretty significant. For any of you that don't know, I do live and hike in the Northeast United States, specifically upstate New York. So it's wet here. It's very wet. It's very damp. It's frequently kind of miserable, to be honest. Day 1 kind of went like this. So it's like about an hour later. I did wipe off the inside of the tent. Yeah, it was pretty soaked. And I did wipe off my bag to get the water off of it. It's less damp now. It'll be better. I'll take it out later in the sun and have it dry out. So the second night, it was actually forecast to rain, and I was definitely concerned about the performance of the tent. I was very concerned I was gonna wake up soaking wet. I did in fact have to pull my sleeping bag and my tent out in the middle of the day on hiking day 2 to dry them out because they got that damp the night before. The first night I did sleep with the vestibule door open. I am absolutely unsure of how this played into the condensation that was in the tent. If I kept the temperature more stable by closing the vestibule door, would it have been better? I don't know, because I'm not out on the trail right now, so it's impossible to say. But day 2, there was going to be some storms. So everything went inside of the tent. I had in a Nemo Tensor long, wide sleeping pad with all of my crap at the foot end of the tent. It did not block the vents down there. However, I did seem to have some trouble getting that one corner of the tent that I originally had trouble staking out and getting straight. I had a lot of trouble getting that straight. I actually never got it completely straight. Second night, that did cause a problem because I did get water into the tent through that little vent. I'm not entirely sure how. I'm gonna have to look at it a little bit more closely and try and figure that out. Like I said, I live in a damp area. I'm gonna have condensation. It is what it is. That being said, it was very significant the first night. Second night, not quite as bad, but I did have leakage in that one corner for some reason. I'm just not really sure why. Maybe I'm horrible at pitching tents. I don't know. But it did allow some water into the tent. The second night, I did keep my cloth handy to wipe down the tent in the middle of the night if I needed to. And that seemed to, keep everything at a minimum. And with the tent door shut, honestly, the condensation just wasn't that big of a deal. Here's how it went night 2. Good morning, everybody. It's not condensation, it's rain. It's raining outside. Just a little update. The tent actually did a little bit better last night with condensation. It wasn't as big of a change in temperature. So I'm thinking that had a lot to do with it. But still damp. My sleeping bag was still damp. I did have to keep the doors shut last night because I did know it was going to start raining. But if I just wiped the sleeping bag off with a rag, it did basically dry immediately. I'm going to be packing up inside of the tent today in the rain, so my back is going to basically hit everything. My backpack is at the bottom of my sleeping pad. You can see that I kind of stuffed my stuff down there. And I can also get away with about 6 inches of headroom at the top. I basically sleep right in the middle of the pad. There's not a ton of space in here, but you can see that there's some space in between the front. So for me, I think that this tent is going to be, like I said, okay. So I don't know. Where does that leave me? It kind of leaves me very confused about this tent. I definitely want to love this tent. It's very small. The footprint itself is very small. You can kind of squeeze this tent just about anywhere. But staking out the corners the way they have it designed is a little tricky. And with the amount of condensation that not only ended up on the interior wall of the tent, but over my sleeping bag. Make no mistake, this wasn't just a condensation problem about the tent. It affected my sleeping bag. And we were out for 2 nights. So obviously that was kind of a big concern of mine because no one wants to crawl into a wet sleeping bag. As of right now, I'm going to say on a preliminary basis that this tent would be really great if you don't live in a wet climate. Just truth be told, you are going to have massive condensation issues based on the design. It doesn't matter about the little vent holes on the bottom. It doesn't matter about the vent on the top. It doesn't matter if you leave the vestibule door wide open, which I did. I still got wet. So we'll see. So this tent kind of gets, right now the tent is getting a thumbs down. I'm going to give it some more time on the trail. We'll see what happens as summer progresses and maybe temperatures stabilize a little bit more. Maybe I'll have some better luck. I expected to have condensation issues with this tent, and certainly on a longer hike, nobody wants to worry about their gear being persistently soaked by condensation. The tent is very small. It was barely big enough for me to move around in with a 3-inch sleeping mat in there to change clothes or whatever. There is no room whatsoever to move anywhere. But again, to me, the reason that I bought this tent was because I wanted something that had a very small footprint, and that's exactly what this tent offers. So it's hard for me to sit here and criticize that, oh, there's no room in the tent, but that's exactly what I was looking for. Gotta be fair. So basic first impressions of the tent, you're gonna have a problem with condensation unless maybe you live in the desert and it's just a really dry climate. So you're probably gonna have difficulty pitching this tent even on a flat surface. I still had trouble getting that one weird corner that I showed you in my original video. I had trouble getting that corner to stand up straight, which affects the vents I don't know how effective the vents really are, but I'm just telling you this for informational purposes. It's a small tent, it's lightweight, it's gonna keep you sheltered from the rain. I did not have any problems with rain hitting the tent, forcing water to rain onto me. Just be aware of what you're walking into when you get this tent. I know it's very exciting that REI is offering this tent that's extremely lightweight at an amazing price point, but I think they missed a few things on this tent. So anyway, I will continue to give this tent some test runs through the duration of the summer, and I will be sure and check back with you on how it's working. For right now though, it is probably a little bit damper of a tent than I had anticipated. I expected problems. I didn't expect them to be quite this severe. I don't know why. Anyway, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it very informative. If you like watching my videos, please consider subscribing. And in the meantime, just get out there, live your life, and do something, because something is better than nothing, because we're just all stuck inside anyway. Anyway, take care. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.